Watch a child build a sandcastle at the edge of the tide. They know, somewhere deep in their bones, they know that the waves will come. Yet they build anyway. They sculpt towers with careful hands. They dig moats with focused intention. They place shells like precious jewels. And when the water finally rushes in and reclaims everything they've created, they don't scream about injustice. They don't collapse in despair. They laugh. They run through the foam. They start building again. Somewhere between childhood and now, most of us forgot how to do this. We forgot how to build with joy, even when we know the tides will turn. We forgot how to trust the process when we can't control the outcome. We forgot how to act as if everything works out, not because we're naive, but because we understand something deeper than fear. Marcus Aurelius, a man who carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders, wrote words in his private journal that still echo through time. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He wasn't speaking to crowds. He wasn't performing for history. He was reminding himself in his most difficult moments that obstacles aren't interruptions to the path. They are the path. This is what we've lost. This is what we're reclaiming today. You're about to discover 7 ancient principles that will fundamentally shift how you move through the world. Not by changing your circumstances, but by transforming how you interpret them. Not by controlling what happens, but by mastering how you respond. Not by denying difficulty, but by deciding that even difficulty is working for you, not against you. Imagine living with such deep trust that panic becomes foreign to you. Imagine moving through uncertainty with the calm of someone who knows, really knows, that they're being guided toward something good, even when the path looks dark. Imagine becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive challenges, but uses them as fuel for becoming who they're meant to be. This isn't fantasy. This is philosophy in action. This is Stoicism lived, not just studied, and it starts with a single decision. The decision to act as if everything always works out for you, even before you have proof, especially before you have proof. Before we dive deep, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. Share this with someone who's been struggling to trust the process. Subscribe to this channel because what we're building here matters. And please, don't skip any part of this video. Each principle builds on the last, and by the end, you'll have a complete framework for living differently. If you truly believe everything works out for you, declare it boldly. Type, "It works for me" in the comments. Number 1. Trust the timing, not the timeline. We live in a world obsessed with deadlines. Get the degree by 22. Find love by 30. Achieve success before your hair turns grey. We've been handed invisible clocks that tick louder than our own heartbeats, and we measure our worth by how well we keep pace. But here's what the Stoics knew that we've forgotten. Life doesn't operate on your schedule. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And part of mastering yourself is releasing the illusion that you control time. You don't. You never did. What you control is how you show up in this moment, right now, regardless of where you think you should be. When you act as if everything works out for you, you stop fighting the pace of your journey. You stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. You understand that delays aren't denials. They're often divine orchestrations you can't see yet. That job you didn't get might have saved you from a toxic environment. That relationship that ended might have freed you for a love you couldn't imagine. That business that failed might have taught you the exact lesson you needed for the one that will succeed. Trusting the timing means you plant seeds without obsessing over the harvest. You water them, you tend to them, and you believe that when the season is right, they will bloom. You don't dig them up every week to check if they're growing. You trust the process because you've decided to act as if the universe has better timing than your anxiety does. This doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means you work with intention but without desperation. You take action from a place of trust, not fear. You show up fully, knowing that what's meant for you won't miss you, and what misses you was never meant to stay. Think about the oak tree. It doesn't stress about becoming an oak tree. It doesn't compare itself to the pine. It simply grows at its own pace, trusting that its roots are deepening even when no one can see them. That's the energy you're cultivating here, the quiet confidence that your timing is perfect, even when it feels painfully slow. When you trust the timing, you stop living in the future and start living in the now. You stop postponing your peace until everything aligns. You find peace in the alignment itself, the alignment between your effort and your surrender, your ambition and your acceptance. So today, release the timeline. Stop letting imaginary deadlines steal your joy. Stop thinking you're behind. You're not late. You're not lost. You're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn. And when you act as if everything works out, you'll start to notice how often it does, just not always in the way or the time frame you expected. Number 2, reframe every setback as setup. There's a moment that comes for all of us, the moment when everything you built comes crashing down. The promotion goes to someone else. The relationship ends. The dream you nurtured dies before it ever takes its first breath. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can see it as the end, or you can see it as the beginning of something you couldn't have planned. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not just acceptance, but genuine love for everything that happens, including the hard stuff. Nietzsche later echoed this when he said, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This isn't about being passive. It's about recognizing that resistance to what is only multiplies your suffering. When you act as if everything works out for you, you train yourself to look for the setup in every setback. You become a master at finding the hidden gift, the buried lesson, the unexpected doorway. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this making possible for me?" Consider the caterpillar. If someone rescued it from the struggle of breaking out of the cocoon, it would never develop the strength to fly. The struggle isn't a mistake, it's the entire point. Your setbacks work the same way. They're not interruptions to your journey, they're the journey itself, building muscles you'll need for the flight ahead. Every setback is data, every failure is feedback, every closed door is information about which direction to move next. When you get rejected from a job, you're not being told you're not good enough. You're being told this particular door isn't yours. When a friendship fades, you're not losing connection. You're making space for relationships that match who you're becoming. This reframe requires practice. Your brain is wired for negativity bias. It's a survival mechanism. But when you consistently choose to see setbacks as setups, you rewire that circuitry. You become someone who mines gold from the rubble, who finds treasure in the wreckage, who sees possibility where others see only pain. The key is to feel your feelings fully without letting them dictate your interpretation. You can be disappointed and still believe it's working out. You can grieve and still trust the process. You can hurt and still have hope. These aren't contradictions. They're the full human experience. Think about the farmer whose horse runs away. The neighbors say, "Such bad luck." The farmer says, "Maybe." The horse returns with wild horses. The neighbors say, "Such good luck." The farmer says, "Maybe." His son breaks his leg taming one of the wild horses. "Bad luck," they say. "Maybe," he replies. Then war comes, and his son is spared because of his injury. Good luck, they exclaim, and the farmer, wise as ever, simply says, maybe. This parable teaches you that you rarely know in the moment whether something is truly a setback or a setup. What looks like disaster today might be your greatest blessing tomorrow. So why not act as if it's already working out? Why not give yourself the gift of that belief right now, instead of waiting for proof? When you reframe setbacks as setups, you stop being a victim of circumstance and become a student of life. You approach challenges with curiosity instead of dread. You ask better questions, you find better answers, and most importantly, you keep moving forward, even when the path looks nothing like you planned. If you're ready to see obstacles as opportunities, comment "setback is set up" below. Number 3. Surrender control, strengthen trust. Control is the most seductive illusion we cling to. We believe if we just plan enough, worry enough, prepare enough, we can force life to bend to our will. We grip tightly to outcomes, to people, to timelines, and we call it being responsible. But the Stoics understood something we've forgotten. The tighter you grip, the more you suffer. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most of your anxiety isn't about what's happening, it's about what you think should happen and your desperate attempts to make it so. You exhaust yourself trying to control variables that were never yours to control in the first place. When you act as if everything works out for you, you practice radical surrender. Not the kind where you give up, but the kind where you give over. You distinguish between what's yours to control and what isn't. And here's the truth. There's very little you actually control. You don't control other people's choices. You don't control outcomes. You don't control timing. You don't even control tomorrow. What you do control is your effort, your attitude, your integrity, and your response. That's it. That's the entire list. And when you pour your energy into those things instead of everything else, life becomes remarkably lighter. Surrendering control doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you take action without attachment to specific results. You do your best, then you release. You plant the garden, but you don't demand that it grow. You have the conversation, but you don't manipulate the response. You apply for the opportunity, but you don't collapse if it doesn't work out. This is the dance between doing and allowing, between effort and ease. You work hard, but you hold your plans loosely. You commit fully, but you stay flexible. You care deeply, but you don't suffocate what you love with your need for certainty. Think about trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes. But when you cup your hands gently, the water stays. That's how you need to hold your life, with open hands, with trust, with the belief that what's meant for you will stay, and what leaves was meant to teach you to let go. Strengthening trust means you stop needing guarantees before you move. You understand that faith isn't about knowing how it will work out. It's about knowing it will work out somehow, in some way, for your highest good. Even when you can't see it, even when it hurts, even when everyone else thinks you're crazy for believing. The practice is simple but not easy. Every time you feel yourself trying to control something outside your sphere of influence, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what's mine to do here? Do that thing fully. Then release everything else. Hand it over to life, to time, to the universe, to whatever greater intelligence you believe orchestrates this existence. You'll be amazed at how much energy you reclaim when you stop trying to micromanage reality. You'll be shocked at how often things work out better than you planned when you give them space to unfold naturally. And you'll discover a peace that doesn't depend on everything going your way, a peace that exists because you trust the way everything is going. Number 4. Act with certainty, even in uncertainty. There's a particular kind of paralysis that grips people when they can't see the full path ahead. They stand at the edge of decision, waiting for clarity, waiting for guarantees, waiting for some cosmic sign that lights up the entire road before they take a single step. But here's what they miss. Certainty isn't found, it's created. It's built with each step you take, not before you take them. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this deeply when he said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice he didn't say, "First know exactly how everything will turn out, then maybe consider doing something." He said, "Decide who you are, then act accordingly." That's the secret. When you act as if everything works out for you, you don't wait for confidence. You act with confidence and let the feeling catch up later. You move forward even when your hands are shaking. You make the call even when your voice might crack. You start the project even when you don't have all the answers. Because you've made a fundamental decision that your uncertainty won't be your prison. Think about learning to walk as a child. You didn't wait until you were certain you wouldn't fall. You fell dozens of times. You wobbled, you stumbled, you crashed into furniture. But something in you just knew that walking was possible, so you kept trying. You acted with certainty even though you had no evidence yet that you could do it. And eventually, your actions created the certainty your mind was looking for. This is how you navigate life when you believe things work out for you. You understand that waiting for perfect clarity is just fear wearing a sophisticated mask. You recognize that the bridge appears as you walk, not before. You trust that the next step will reveal itself when you take this step. Acting with certainty doesn't mean being reckless. It means being decisive. It means gathering the information you can, consulting your inner wisdom, and then moving with conviction even if you don't have every answer. It means you stop letting "I don't know" become "I won't try." The neuroscience backs this up. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between real experience and vividly imagined experience. When you act as if you're certain, when you carry yourself with that energy, your brain starts to believe it. Your nervous system calms, your decisions sharpen, your presence strengthens. You literally become more capable because you're acting from a place of possibility instead of fear. Consider the tightrope walker. They don't cross by focusing on how they might fall. They cross by focusing on where they're going, by feeling the rope beneath their feet, by trusting their training and their balance. Their certainty isn't about the absence of risk, it's about the presence of commitment. Once they step onto that rope, doubt becomes dangerous. So they choose certainty. They act as if they've already made it to the other side. You can do the same in your life. When you're facing a difficult conversation, act as if it will go well. When you're pursuing a goal, act as if success is inevitable. When you're healing from pain, act as if wholeness is your natural state. This isn't delusion, it's direction. You're pointing yourself toward the outcome you want and letting that orientation guide your energy, your decisions, your presence. The people who change the world, who build remarkable things, who overcome impossible odds, they're not people who had more certainty than you. They're people who acted with certainty despite having the same doubts, the same fears, the same unknown variables. The difference is they didn't let uncertainty stop them. They used it as fuel. So today, tomorrow, this week, practice acting with certainty. Walk into rooms like you belong there. Speak your truth like it matters. Pursue your dreams like they're already real, just waiting in the future for you to arrive. Because when you act as if everything works out, you become the kind of person for whom everything does work out. Not because the universe plays favorites, but because you've stopped playing small. Show me you're done waiting for permission. Comment below, I am certain. Number 5. Find the gift in every moment. Life has a way of hiding treasure in unexpected places. Sometimes it's wrapped in disappointment. Sometimes it's buried beneath frustration. Sometimes it shows up in the exact moment you thought nothing good could possibly emerge. But it's always there, this gift, this lesson, this tiny miracle, waiting for you to notice it. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire while practicing Stoicism, wrote in his Meditations, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He wasn't living an easy life. He faced wars, plagues, betrayal, and loss. Yet he chose to see the gift. He chose to find the privilege. He chose gratitude even when circumstances didn't demand it. When you act as if everything works out for you, you become a treasure hunter in your own life. You develop eyes that see beyond surface disappointments to deeper truths. You train yourself to ask not just what happened, but what can I receive from what happened? This isn't about forced positivity or pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about developing the maturity to hold multiple truths at once. Yes, this hurts. And yes, I'm growing. Yes, I lost something. And yes, I'm discovering something new. Yes, this is hard. And yes, I'm becoming stronger. The gift isn't always obvious. Sometimes you have to sit with an experience for months or years before you understand what it gave you. That heartbreak that shattered you might have cracked you open to a depth of compassion you never had before. That failure that humiliated you might have killed an ego that was keeping you small. That loss that devastated you might have shown you what truly matters. Finding the gift is an active practice. It requires intention. Every evening you could ask yourself, what was the gift in today? Maybe it was a stranger's smile. Maybe it was a problem you finally solved. Maybe it was the strength you found to keep going when you wanted to quit. Maybe it was the silence that let you hear yourself think. There's always something. This practice rewires your brain's default settings. Instead of scanning for threats and problems, which is what your ancient survival brain wants to do, you train yourself to scan for gifts and growth. You become someone who finds gold in ordinary moments, who extracts wisdom from everyday experiences, who sees possibility where others see only problems. Think about coal and diamonds. Same element, carbon. The only difference is pressure and time. The coal doesn't resist becoming a diamond. It doesn't curse the pressure. It simply transforms. That's what finding the gift does for your experiences. It lets pressure create something precious in you. When you look for the gift, you also become more present. You can't find hidden treasures if you're always somewhere else in your mind. You have to be here, now, paying attention, noticing. That difficult conversation might be teaching you boundaries. That traffic jam might be giving you unexpected time to think. That rainy day might be inviting you to rest. The gifts are everywhere, but you have to be present to receive them. This doesn't mean you become passive or accept everything without discernment. It means you stop wasting energy resisting what already is. You acknowledge reality fully and then you ask, now what? What's the opportunity here? What's the invitation? What's the gift I'm being offered? Sometimes the gift is in what didn't happen. The relationship that didn't work out saved you from years of incompatibility. The job you didn't get freed you for something better aligned. The plan that fell through opened space for something you couldn't have imagined. The gift of absence, the gift of redirection, the gift of divine no. These are gifts too. When you commit to finding the gift in every moment, you transform your relationship with life itself. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a student of existence. Every moment becomes your teacher. Every experience becomes curriculum, and the more gifts you find, the more you realize they were always there, just waiting for someone wise enough to claim them. If you're committed to finding treasure in every moment, type, "I see the gift right now." Number 6. Respond, don't react. There's a space between what happens to you and what you do about it. Most people never find that space. They live their entire lives in automatic mode, reacting instantly to every trigger, every disappointment, every unexpected turn. Someone cuts them off in traffic and they're instantly angry. A text goes unanswered and they spiral into anxiety. A plan changes and they crumble into frustration. They've given away their power without even realizing it. The Stoics built their entire philosophy around this one insight. You cannot control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lives your freedom, your power, your ability to act as if everything works out for you. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, captured this perfectly when he wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." He learned this in the most brutal circumstances imaginable. If he could find that space in a concentration camp, you can find it in your daily life. When you act as if everything works out for you, you become a master of the pause. You don't let external events dictate your internal state. You don't hand your peace over to circumstances. You don't let someone else's bad day become your bad day. You create that sacred pause between what happens and what you do. And in that pause, you choose wisdom over impulse. Reacting is automatic. It's survival brain taking over. It's fast, instinctive, and often destructive. When you react, you're not really you. You're a bundle of old patterns, past wounds, and conditioned responses. You're letting history make your decisions. You're letting fear drive the car. Responding is different. Responding is conscious. It's you at your highest self, making a choice about how you want to show up. It requires you to slow down just enough to ask, who do I want to be in this moment? What response serves my highest good? How can I handle this in a way I'll be proud of tomorrow? Think about water again. When you throw a stone into reactive water, it splashes violently, disrupting everything around it. But when you drop that same stone into calm water, it creates ripples, gentle, expanding, beautiful. Same stone, different response. You get to choose which kind of water you are. The practice is simple, but demands commitment. When something triggers you, and life will keep providing triggers, that's guaranteed. Pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice what's happening in your body. Name the emotion. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling disappointed. This simple act of naming creates distance. It reminds you that you're not the emotion. You're the one experiencing it. Then ask yourself, what does the best version of me do here? Not the wounded version, not the scared version, not the ego-driven version. The best version. The version that believes everything works out. That version doesn't need to prove anything, defend everything, or control everyone. That version is secure enough to respond with grace. This doesn't mean you become passive or let people walk over you. Responding powerfully is different from reacting emotionally. You can set fierce boundaries while remaining calm. You can say no with conviction without losing your center. You can address problems directly without creating drama. The power is in your composure, not your chaos. Consider the martial artist. They don't meet force with force. They don't react to every punch with blind aggression. They stay centered. They read the situation. They respond with precision. Their power comes from their stillness, not their violence. They've trained themselves to stay present in the middle of conflict. You can train yourself the same way. When you respond instead of react, you break generational patterns. You stop perpetuating the same arguments, the same dynamics, the same cycles. You become the one who transforms energy instead of transmitting it. Someone brings you their anger, and you respond with calm. Someone brings you their chaos, and you respond with clarity. You don't absorb their state, you offer them a different one. This practice changes everything. Your relationships improve because you're no longer escalating conflicts. Your decision-making sharpens because you're not choosing from panic. Your self-respect deepens because you're showing yourself that you can be trusted to handle whatever comes. You become unshakable, not because nothing bothers you, but because you've learned to create space before you act. The world needs more people who respond instead of react. People who pause before they post. People who breathe before they speak. People who think before they act. People who act as if everything works out, even in moments when nothing seems to be working at all. Prove to yourself you're choosing differently. Drop "I choose peace" in the comments. Number 7. Become evidence of what you believe. Here's the final truth that ties everything together. Belief without embodiment is just wishful thinking. You can say you believe everything works out for you, but if your actions, your energy, your daily choices tell a different story, you don't really believe it yet. The universe doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to who you are. The Stoics didn't just philosophize, they lived their philosophy. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about virtue while ruling cruelly. Seneca didn't preach about simplicity while drowning in excess. Epictetus, who was born a slave, didn't just talk about inner freedom. He embodied it so completely that he became one of history's most influential teachers. They understood that wisdom isn't what you know, it's what you do. Ralph Waldo Emerson said it perfectly. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Your life is your message. Your daily habits are your real beliefs. Your consistent actions are your true philosophy. You can claim you trust the process, but if you're anxious and controlling, you don't trust it. You can say you believe in divine timing, but if you're constantly panicking about being behind, you don't believe it. When you act as if everything works out for you, you become living proof of that belief. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. People feel it in your presence. This person isn't faking it anymore. They're actually living it. Becoming evidence means your inner world and outer world align. There's no gap between what you claim to believe and how you actually live. When opportunity knocks, you answer with readiness, not surprise. When challenges arise, you meet them with steadiness, not panic. When things don't go as planned, you adjust with grace, not bitterness. This is about integrity in its truest sense. Integration. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, all pointing in the same direction. You're not one person in your mind and another person in your life. You're whole. You're congruent. You're authentic. And that alignment creates a magnetic quality that attracts the very outcomes you're believing for. Think about the athlete who truly believes they'll win. They don't just think positive thoughts. They train like a champion. They eat like a champion. They rest like a champion. They show up like a champion. Their belief isn't separate from their behavior. Their behavior is their belief in action. That's what makes them unstoppable. You do the same thing. If you believe everything works out for you, you stop playing victim. You stop complaining endlessly about circumstances. You stop gossiping about how unfair life is. Instead, you take responsibility for your energy, your choices, your response. You become someone who looks for solutions instead of dwelling on problems. You become someone who takes action instead of making excuses. Becoming evidence also means you celebrate other people's wins like they're your own. Because if you truly believe there's enough success, enough love, enough opportunity, then someone else getting theirs doesn't threaten you. It inspires you. It reminds you that good things are happening and you're next. Jealousy dies when you act as if everything works out because you stop believing in scarcity. The beautiful thing is, the more you embody this belief, the more evidence you create. You notice things working out in small ways, then bigger ways. You start seeing synchronicities, doors open at the perfect time, people show up exactly when you need them, opportunities appear out of nowhere, and it's not magic, it's momentum. You've aligned yourself with a way of being that naturally attracts what you're looking for. Your life becomes the proof, not for anyone else, for you. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you prove to yourself you can be trusted. Every time you find the gift in difficulty, you prove to yourself your belief is real. Every time you respond instead of react, you prove to yourself you're changing. And that proof builds unshakable faith. So today, right now, decide to become the evidence. Stop waiting to believe it when you see it. Believe it so completely that you become it. Live it so fully that you are it. Act as if everything always works out for you until the day you realize it's no longer an act. It's just who you are. You've journeyed through 7 principles today, but they're not just ideas to admire. They're invitations to transform. Acting as if everything works out for you isn't about denying reality. It's about choosing which reality you're going to feed. It's about recognizing that you have more power than you've been using, more resilience than you've been claiming, and more capacity for trust than you've been exercising. The Stoics gave us this gift centuries ago, and it's still waiting for you to unwrap it. You are not what happens to you. You are what you choose to become in response to what happens. That space, that choice, that power, it's always been yours. When you trust the timing, you free yourself from the tyranny of comparison. When you reframe setbacks as setups, you transform obstacles into opportunities. When you surrender control and strengthen trust, you discover peace you didn't know was possible. When you act with certainty, even in uncertainty, you build the bridge as you walk. When you find the gift in every moment, you become wealthy in ways money can't measure. When you respond instead of react, you reclaim your power. And when you become evidence of what you believe, you stop waiting for your life to begin. You realize it already has. This isn't theory, this is practice. Daily, imperfect, beautiful practice. You'll forget. You'll slip back into old patterns. You'll have moments of doubt. That's okay. That's human. What matters is that you return, you remember, you choose again. So, act as if everything works out for you, not because it's easy, but because it changes everything. Not because you have proof yet, but because your belief creates the proof. Not because life promised you it would be smooth, but because you've decided to trust it anyway. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your affirmations in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Your journey matters. Your transformation matters. And I'm honored to walk this path with you.